Hey guys, it's your girl Asia, aka Geek XX Chic, and I'm back with another review to The Walking Dead. This is for the latest episode, which was called Bounty, and this episode was just frustrating to me. There's really no other word to aptly describe it other than sheer frustration. Let's just jump right into it, because I know for those of you who watched the reaction, you probably know that I was very frustrated with Henry in this episode. Yeah, we'll talk about Henry first. We'll talk about Henry, then we'll get into the stuff with Alpha in a bit. What bothers me with this is just, I understand what the writers are trying to do with Henry's character. I really do. And I understand that if Carl was still alive, this was Carl's storyline, so he would have gone through something very similar. Although I feel like they would have had to adjust it because Carl, I mean, I guess they kind of gave it to Carl with the whole Sadiq thing, but he didn't really needlessly sacrifice himself, you know, for Sadiq, in the sense of Sadiq, he could tell was a good person based on the fact that Sadiq was leaving everybody alone. He was just killing walkers and he asked for water. Do you know what I mean? He didn't actually try to attack anybody. Whereas we've got Lydia, whose group literally killed one of his friends, and the first thing he does is just volunteer information and just assume she's good just because, it's, let's be honest, because he had a boner, right? So it's just like, Carl just wouldn't be, you know, if he had the interaction the exact same way that Henry did, I don't think he would have been as trusting of her. I'm not saying he wouldn't have taken her in or tried to help her, but I don't think he would have been nearly as short-sighted with throwing his trust out there for her. Carl's been through so much more than Henry. It would have been extremely out of character for him to have done everything that Henry did in this episode if it had been him. But let's not talk about the past. As much as it hurts my heart, Carl is gone. So we'll talk about this one. Now, I get it. This whole episode, especially with the juxtaposition of what was going on with the kingdom and the whole run for the damn movie bulb. Yes, I ranted about it in the episode because I'm sorry. I just feel like in this world where life is literally so precious, is it really worth it to risk over a movie bulb? I mean, food, yes. Water, yes. Supplies. But I get it. I get it. Before y'all come for me, I do get it. It's been 6 years or 7 years since, you know, this season began. And it's been what? I guess we can say it's been about a good 10 years into the apocalypse. People are having babies. People are starting to live life like humans again. And I get it. There's the little things, right? Humanity is more than just having food and clothing and shelter. Humanity is about the arts, and it's about expression and all these other things that round out our lives. So I get that the difference, I guess, with the kingdom and with Ezekiel has always been that Ezekiel's been someone who tries so hard to put the idea that there's a better future out there. He is an optimist by nature. And it's refreshing to some degree. And it's obviously necessary because people wouldn't even bother with trying to get supplies and protecting their homes unless they had an optimistic thought that they could have a better future going forward. But I feel like there needs to be a balance struck in some way, shape, or form, because that kind of blind idealism is not realistic enough to be sustainable. And like with Ezekiel, he now has Carol. As we saw in this episode, you know, Ezekiel was very much being himself, you know, saying, oh, we know this is, you know, the charter is going to be signed and I'm going to frame it. It's going to be great. And we don't ever need to leave the kingdom because we're going to make it work even though our crops are failing and we don't have enough. But Carol was like, okay, like that's a great thing to have and we can definitely keep going with that. But maybe we should also entertain the idea of a backup plan just in case this doesn't roll out the way we thought. Let's think about how we're going to make sure we can take care of all these people, like Jerry and his entire brood. Which, side note, how adorable is it that Jerry has his whole little family? It's just, you know that he was the perfect dad material. And is it not Naima? I can't remember her name, but she seems like the same thing like Jerry. Like she's just a squishable bear, right? She looks all squishy and lovey, but we know that she can throw down when necessary. And it just, oh, how cute are those kids too? But I digress. I get that there has to be a balance of, let's take care of all these people, but you know, let's also have a healthy dose of optimism so that we still have the desire to go forward with any of these things, right? Because as humans, if we lose our hope, that's it, right? We don't have any motivation to do anything. So I do get it. I understand that the episode is very much trying to show that this whole extraordinarily dangerous mission to go get this bulb was really to save a different part of their humanity, which is, of course, their imaginations and their sense of recreation and play and all those things that children absolutely need to somewhat grow up functional. But then I would also argue that they're living in a post-apocalyptic world where the dead walk. So should their kids grow up with this big rose-colored glass on their face? I'm not so sure that that's the healthiest thing for them. And Henry is kind of a byproduct of whether or not that's the best decision. Henry, who wants to just believe that everything can be fixed with a good heart and nice words. I appreciate what he tried to do for Lydia. I honestly did. But the impulsivity of him impulsivity, that's not a word. The impulsiveness of him going and releasing Lydia before figuring out what the situation is, not trusting Daryl to at least figure out what's going on, was so foolhardy. He was willing to let potentially 3 people die to save 1 girl that he doesn't know and that he cannot even guarantee is not going to snap and end up going back to her family anyway. And again, I understand that this is that hopefulness that he's inherited from spending so much time with Ezekiel. But as I said, this is where I feel like there needs to be a little bit more curbing, a little bit, you know, let's just take a little of that rose tint off the glasses because it wasn't a smart move. He could have been captured. He has no idea how many people. Maybe they weren't all at the front gate. She could have easily had people surrounding the entirety of the compound. They could have gotten Henry, killed Henry, God knows what else. He just didn't think. And all of his arguments this episode were so frustrating. Like the fact that Enid had to go and give him story time to get him to understand. Even Lydia, the damaged, abused, skin-wearing girl, understood that, you know what? Maybe my life, which is going to be okay, because if she came to get me, she's not going to get me just to kill me. Although that would have been a crazy twist. Like, she's fine. Not fine in the sense of course, Alpha's still going to abuse her and be a completely terrible mother, but she's not going to die is my point. She can live another day to figure out a way to get away again. As opposed to the 2 people who were standing outside with the Whisperers with knives at their throats. Like, I keep saying it, but Henry is going to get somebody killed. He's going to get somebody who does not deserve it, someone who does not need it, killed. Because this is not optimism now, it's very much well into the realm of stupidity. So it was very frustrating to watch, and this is, like I said, potentially why I think that kids kind of need to have a little, I mean, I don't think they don't have to be as crazy as Judith, because I mean, Judith is a whole other story. She's a whole other level of suspension of disbelief that we gotta take. But there needs to be a balance, and I don't think Henry got the balance. I think that poor Ezekiel was trying so hard to deflect, especially, and I get it, like the last thing we kind of saw with Henry before the time jump was the kid who killed a man, the man who he thought, well yeah, the man who killed his brother, the kid that was out there bloodlusting to kill all these saviors. I mean, I can understand why Ezekiel was thinking, let's try our best to turn this ship around so this kid doesn't turn into a serial killer. But I think they might have gone, well, not, I say they, but I feel like it's mostly Ezekiel might have gone a bit too far with coddling him and getting him a little too optimistic, because as I said before, he's still got to be safe, he's got to be sensible, and at the moment he does not have the smarts to survive. If you put him out there, like he said he's going after Lydia right now, he doesn't have the smarts to survive out there. He got caught by a bunch of rogue saviors the last time on his way to the hilltop. Like, anyway, poor Daryl now has got to take his precious dog, and now we got this sister girl out there having to go risk their lives because his dumb behind is about to get... But you know what? I want him to go. At this point, he's annoying me so much that, yes, become a whisperer. Y'all wander around with the dead, okay, Henry? Because I'm done. I'm done. I can't. I don't know who can get through to him. I'm not even sure that Carol or Ezekiel will be able to talk through to this boy right now, because Lydia gave him a dirty mouth kiss, and now he's just doing anything in the world. He's doing it all for the biscuit. He's risking it all for the biscuit. And I mean, the biscuit ain't even... Anyway, let me stop right there, because let's not shade Lydia. She's had a rough time, but I'm just saying, I don't see this ending well. And if we lose another cast member because of this, Finally, on to the Alpha stuff. It was very interesting how they portrayed her. I like that she has this, you know, she's someone with authority, in the fact that she did not say a lot. And it wasn't just because I don't think it's just because she spent all these years wandering with the dead and she's learned to keep talking to a real minimum. I honestly think, you know, when someone is in real power, you learn that you don't need to be verbose. And that was the big difference. Like Negan, yeah, he had a sense of power, but I always knew that once you stripped away the people and the advantage, Negan was not going to be as strong as everyone thought he was, because he was always talking. He was always about the long dialogue and the speeches and having to say this and dick jokes and all this other stuff. People who have to keep asserting and saying that they're powerful are not truly powerful. They're just trying to convince you because they're trying to convince themselves. People with true power don't need to tell you they're in charge. Do you remember when Rick was on the show? Remember how many times people didn't even have to ask if Rick was the leader, because they just knew. The way Rick carried himself, the way his whole demeanor was, screamed that this is my house. I am in charge here. Rick didn't have to prove nothing to nobody. That's what true power is. And Alpha definitely had that aura of, I don't need to sit here and talk to y'all about why we do what we do or where we're going, where we've been. I ain't got time for that. She's just like, I want my daughter. Y'all did some things. You came into our territory. Cool. Y'all killed some of our people. Cool. I got some of your people. Cool. I don't want no fighting. Just give me my kid. I'll give you your people. We go our separate ways. That's power right there, right? She's just like, here is the terms. Take or leave. And when Daryl was all like, you know, trying to front on her, call her bluff, she's like, I got more people. Just so you know, this is just a taste of my people here. How messy do you want this to get? And I love the fact that she brought this woman with the baby, but when the baby was there and then Alpha just gave her that look, like, Alpha didn't say nothing. Alpha didn't raise her voice. Alpha barely blinked. And that woman just straight up took off the carrying bag and put her baby in the dirt and walked away like, all right, well, that was 9 months wasted. Like, that's power. You know what I'm saying? That is power right there. Like, and the fact that she looked Daryl right in the face and Daryl's like, you're gonna let a baby die? And she's like, first of all, ain't my baby. Second of all, she can't shut it up. Something will. Next. Alpha is something else. She is a badass in her own way. Psycho. Completely psycho. Evil. Definitely needs to die at some point. Makes Negan look like a baby, in my opinion. However, very interesting character to watch. So I think it'll be cool to see more of her. And my guess is that if Henry does end up finding these guys, it's going to be our window into the Whisperer world until such a time that there's going to be an interface. Of course, it's going to backfire because Henry is going to end up having to spill his guts, because if he does find them, let's be real, Alpha's going to want some revenge. Alpha's going to want to be out there. She's going to get everything out of Henry, and Henry sadly knows far too much. And it's too much to hope for that Daryl will just put an arrow through his head if he sees him from a distance. So that was very interesting. I like the introduction. I also kind of am interested in seeing what Lydia acts like when she's with her people. We got to see we got to see a bit of the manipulator in the last episode, and then we got to see the broken side of her, and then we got to see a little mixture of both before she went back to her mom. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when she's back in that community and she's got to put on that persona that her mother expects of her, and to see how Henry responds and whether or not she really is going to try to figure out a way to break away from Alpha, or if she's just going to find a way to try to keep Henry with her. Once again, no Alexandria though, very sad. But my guess is it might have something to do with the fact that I'm thinking that my girl Denai might have been filming the second half of Avengers. And I also believe that they're starting some of the stuff for Black Panther. So my point is, I think she might have been busy. So it's potentially why they've had her kind of taking a long break. But kind of sad that we still haven't seen what's going on with Alexandria. But one thing we did also see with the whole scene with Hilltop is that they're still very much in the dark about the Whisperers and that Jesus is gone. And that's obviously going to affect this fair that they think is going to happen. And also that movie theater that they hit was marked, that sign was marked with a symbol, and my guess is that it was the Whisperers maybe marking their territory, and that now that these guys have stumbled right into their territory, they're probably going to follow them right back to Hilltop, or to the Kingdom. So we'll see what repercussions come from that whole fiasco in coming episodes. Overall, it was not a bad episode at all. I think what I enjoyed the most was, like I said, the presentation of Alpha and her interactions with the group. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens when she goes up against Michonne. I feel like that is gonna be a day. That will be a day of reckoning that I will deeply enjoy. What did you guys think of this episode? How are you feeling about Alpha as a character? Are we looking forward to seeing more of her, or are we already ready for her to die? And what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Henry's actually gonna make it to the Whisperers, or do you think Daryl's gonna get to him first? Please leave your comments below. You know I love reading them and getting involved in that conversation with you. And if you like this video, guys, please click like. And if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya!